Hey y'all, my name is Mare. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about all the books that I want to read in August with my August TBR video. So I haven't done a TBR in a while, haven't done a lot of things in a while, but I actually only have like 30 minutes to film this video, so beyond the fact that I haven't done this in probably a year, we're also going to be doing the speed round version of it. But the good news is I'm not going to be wasting anyone's time here. So let's just jump right into it. Books I'm hoping to read this month, I have about 8 of them, I believe, and it's a lot of romance. I have a few YA fantasy on this list. I didn't read YA fantasy at all last month, so hopefully I'll be back in the mood for that because it's one of my favorite genres, so I'm really hoping to read at least a few of them. But I've just been on a super big romance kick, and we're going to continue that trend with the first book on this list, which is The Friend Zone. Now, I don't know too much about this book, but I read Part of Your World by the same author last month and I absolutely loved it, so I really wanted to read another book by this author, and this is the first in a series of 3 books, so I wanted to start with the very first one. Obviously, I don't like to read romance series out of order. I know a lot of people do that and it doesn't bother them, but I am very much a person who has to read things in order, so I want to read The Friend Zone. Now, this book follows a woman named Christina, and she is at a wedding for her friend where she meets the best man, and I believe some sort of romance starts between them because this is a romance book. Romance typically happens in them, but there's one big secret that Christina has, which is the fact that she's not able to have children. So it's a romance dealing with the two of them falling in love, but also dealing with that issue. So this one sounds very similar to Part of Your World in the fact that it's going to be a super awesome, amazing romance. There's probably going to be great chemistry if it's the same as the other book that I read by this author, but I think there's also going to be a lot of emotional depth to this book as well, so that makes me really excited to read this one. Next is a memoir actually that I'm hoping to read, which is Crying in Mart, and this is by Michelle Zauner, who is a member of Japanese Breakfast, which is a music group, and I have just been wanting to read this one for a while. I remember hearing about it on booktube a while ago when it first was released, and I just had this feeling that I really wanted to read this book, and I've constantly like packed it with my bag and have kept it on me, but I've never had a chance to actually just read it because I want to give it the attention it deserves, and I just feel like I haven't had the right reading mindset to pick up a memoir or any type of nonfiction work. So I'm really excited because I feel like I'm finally in a better headspace to read nonfiction and to read a memoir, so I'm really excited about this one. And this one follows Michelle's story as she grows up as an Asian American who has to not only learn who she is and her identity, but it also talks about how she loses her mother. So I've heard that this one's really emotional and raw and honest, and I'm just really excited to read it and hopefully get to know Michelle a little bit better. The next book that I'm hoping to read is Late to the Party, and this one follows a young woman named Cody. She is very much a rule follower. This book I believe takes place in high school. She's 17, so she hasn't done a lot of experiences in life, and she's very like timid and not really wanting to try new experiences, but her friends suggest going to a party together one night and crashing it, and she actually does. And at this party she sees a boy from school kissing another boy, and she is sworn to secrecy by him, and so Cody is then taken under the wing of this boy that she witnessed kissing another guy, and I believe a friendship kind of blossoms from there. And it's also just, I don't know too much about this one, to be honest. I just saw it on Bookstagram recently and it had a lot of really good reviews, and I remember hearing about this one from a couple of different booktubers, and I just have been wanting to read this one for a while. I just hadn't really known what it was about, and contemporary does sound like something I'm really kind of itching for this month before fall comes. I kind of want to read a little bit more contemporary and romance before the summer's over, so this is one I definitely wanted to have on my list. Next is another romance, and that is Well Met. Now, what I know about this one is that it takes place during a Renaissance fair and it's enemies to lovers. I have been wanting to read this one for a couple of years actually, but I'd kind of been like swayed by negative reviews from it, but something about like a Renaissance rom-com this summer sounds like the vibe. So again, before summer ends, I really just want to fit as many fun contemporary romance books into my TBR as possible, so this is one that's definitely on my radar. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to get to it, but if I have time, I would love to read this book. I know it also has a couple books in the series, at least one other one, so if I like it, then I'll be able to read more. Next, I'm going to attempt another Christina Lauren book. If you watched my July wrap-up, you know I read a couple of Christina Laurens last month, and it didn't go very well. I had one huge success, one kind of a success, but kind of also not, and then one really big disappointment. And I've read other Christina Lauren books in the past. I had read In a Holidays and The Honeymooners, and I just didn't care for either of them. And so I was thinking, you know, like, I'll give Christina Lauren another chance. So I read a couple books by them, and now I've read 5, and I just really love The Soulmate Equation. So I'm really hoping that I can find another success from Christina Lauren, and this is my final test, because if I don't enjoy this book, which is The Honey Don't List, I don't think I'm going to pick up any more Christina Lauren unless that synopsis is really convincing, because I just don't really want to waste my time on mediocre romance books. Like, I'm really happy if Christina Lauren books work for you, but like, I just don't want to intentionally read things that I know aren't going to work for me. So we're going to give it one more chance, because I did have such a huge success with Christina Lauren, and I feel like this synopsis is really interesting to me, so this one has a high probability of being a success. And The Honey Don't List follows, I believe, a woman named Casey who works for this couple who's flips houses, I want to say. Is it flips houses? Yeah, they remodel and they design houses, and they're like basically like Chip and Joanna is kind of like my understanding of it. They're a very popular couple who design homes together, and Casey works for them, but this couple actually has a divide. They don't really want to be together, but they have to put on a face for America and for the TV. So Casey, while working under them, I believe meets another person who's working underneath them. She meets this guy who works as a structural engineer for the couple, and they don't get along together, but they have to work together because they both really need the job, and a romance may develop from that. So I like this idea. I like that this idea is so unique. Like, I feel like I haven't read a romance about something like this before. Like, you have the main couple who's in the spotlight, but then you have the behind the scenes. So I think that's a component that I'll really enjoy. And I also just really like a good like hate to love banter, and I feel like Christina Lauren does do a good job of having that hate to love at first. Not that it's super drastic or anything like that, but in The Soulmate Equation, River and Jess didn't really want to get to know each other at first, or at least Jess didn't want to get to know River because she thought that he was kind of the worst. And so I'm hoping it's going to be kind of similar here, where they're going to have reasons to dislike each other, but they're going to be able to overcome that pretty quickly and fall in love, and it's gonna be beautiful. So I'm really hoping I enjoy The Honey Don't List. If I don't, I think I'm gonna be done with the Christina Lauren books. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I do have a few YA fantasies I want to try, and the reason for this is I made a 2022 anticipated release video a couple months ago, which I'll link in the cards if you want to watch that. But I talked about all the books that I was really excited for to come out this year, and a lot of them have actually come out and I haven't had a chance to read them. I have done a good job about reading books I'm excited for, and I have read a lot of that list, but some of them, like the YA fantasy, I just haven't been in the mood for. So I'm really hoping to make that a priority and actually work on a video for that. So I'm gonna try and do a video where I read all of my 22 anticipated releases that are at least published and see if I actually enjoyed them. So that's what this attempt is. I don't know if I'll get to all 3 of these books within this month, but I'm going to try and at least read one of them so I can start on that video and kind of form my thoughts on my reading taste and my predicting reading taste. Do I actually know myself and know what I'm going to enjoy? So the first on that list is Blood Scion, and the synopsis of this book is kind of vague. It's about a 15-year-old young woman who enters the army, and she has a secret that, like, if it got out, it would mean certain death. So this one I've actually just heard wonderful things about. Not a lot of people have been talking about this, but I looked at Goodreads reviews and they're all really, really positive, and I just love the color. The synopsis sounds really intriguing, so definitely excited about this one. The next on this list is The Ivory Key, which I remember being a Indian-inspired duology where a main character has to work together with a couple other people to find this magical artifact and to ensure that magic stays alive in their country. More specifically, it's about 4 siblings who are all estranged and have to work together to get that source of magic back in their country, otherwise it'll be lost forever. So definitely sounds really good. I love a good magical artifact quest hunt, and I also like that they're all siblings and they're gonna have to work together even though they don't get along. So I feel like this will be really good for family dynamics and just really engaging. The last book that I'm hoping to read during August is the Book of Living Secrets, and this one really intrigued me because I believe it's a standalone YA fantasy, and this one is about two girls who loved this one book together when they were younger, but then they actually enter the world of it a couple years later and it's not at all how they remember it. So this synopsis just sounds super interesting to me, and I love the idea of fiction going into fiction. It just sounds really fun and it sounds a little bit dark and mysterious, so I'm excited to see what this world inside the world has to offer for these girls. So hopefully this was as short and sweet as I promised. I am really excited about all these books, and while I don't think I'll be able to get to all of them during August, I definitely want to try and read some of them and also just leave some mood rating up in the air for myself. So that's why I limited my TBR to like 8 books. I don't even know how many books I'm gonna read this month. I read 14 last month, so I feel like 8 is a pretty reasonable number with how busy my life has been. But I am just really excited about all these and want to read them at some point, so hopefully that point will be in August. I'm also just really excited for August because it is my birthday month. It is about to be Virgo season, so if you're a fellow Virgo, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you're doing to celebrate our time of year. I am just really pumped about August. I have a good feeling it's gonna be a great month. I have lots of exciting plans. I'm going out of town. Let me know what you're reading in August. Let me know what you're up to in August, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye y'all. Thanks for watching.